My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was meant to find you before another hour passed. Do not move away from this message too quickly. Something important has happened in the heart of the one connected to you, and the silence you have been feeling is no longer as empty as it seemed. Behind that silence, a decision has been forming. Behind the distance, a truth has been rising. And right now, your soulmate feels an overwhelming need to speak with you, not someday, not when everything becomes perfect, but as soon as the path opens. There is a reason you were drawn here at this exact moment. You may have thought you simply found another message, another voice, another passing sign in the middle of your day. But something within you slowed down. Something made you listen. It was not fear that brought you here. It was recognition. Your spirit has been sensing a shift before your mind could understand it. You have felt an unusual heaviness at certain moments, followed by sudden hope. You have remembered this person without trying. Perhaps their face appeared in your thoughts while you were busy. Perhaps an old conversation returned to you with new meaning. Perhaps you felt as though someone was calling your name without making a sound. Do not dismiss those moments too quickly, because your heart has been picking up the echo of something unfolding beyond your sight. Your soulmate has reached a point where keeping everything inside has become more difficult than speaking. For a long time, they believed silence was safer. They told themselves that waiting would protect both of you. They thought distance would make their feelings smaller, clearer, easier to control. But instead, every day of silence revealed something they were not prepared to admit: the connection did not disappear. It became louder in the quiet. They tried to focus on ordinary things. They filled their hours with responsibilities, conversations, distractions, and plans. From the outside, they may have appeared calm. They may even have convinced others that everything was fine. But there were moments when the mask slipped. Late at night, when there was no one left to impress, their thoughts returned to you. In rooms full of people, they still felt the space where your presence should have been. In happy moments, they wondered what it would feel like to share them with you. In difficult moments, your name became the one their heart reached for first. And then something happened. It was not loud enough for the whole world to notice. It did not arrive with thunder or a visible sign in the sky. It may have seemed like a simple conversation, an unexpected memory, a message they almost ignored, or a moment when someone mentioned something connected to you. But what happened opened a door inside them that they had spent a long time trying to keep closed. Stay with this message, because the meaning of that moment is greater than it first appears. Your soulmate heard something that forced them to look at the past differently. They realized that part of what they believed about you may have been incomplete. A misunderstanding, an assumption, or the influence of another person had quietly shaped the way they interpreted your actions. For some time, they may have believed that you did not care enough, that you had moved on, that your silence meant rejection, or that your strength meant you no longer felt anything. But now, they are beginning to understand that your silence may have come from pain, not indifference. Your distance may have been self-protection, not abandonment. Your calmness may have hidden emotions that were far deeper than they ever imagined. This realization did not bring them immediate peace. It shook them. Because once they saw the possibility that they had misunderstood you, memories began returning with new meaning. Words you once said sounded different. Moments they had judged too quickly became softer. The look in your eyes, the patience you showed, the times you stepped back instead of creating conflict, everything began rearranging itself in their mind. They started asking questions they had avoided for too long. What if you had cared all along? What if you were waiting for honesty? What if the connection was not lost, but wounded? What if the door they assumed was closed had never been fully shut? And the question that frightened them most was this: what if they waited too long to speak? My child, this is why the urgency around them has increased. They feel time differently now. Before, they believed there would always be another chance. They imagined they could explain themselves later, apologize later, reach out later, become courageous later. But something important has reminded them that opportunities do not remain unchanged forever. Hearts grow tired. Lives move forward. Circumstances shift. People who love deeply can still learn to live without what they once prayed for. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that your heart cannot be placed on hold indefinitely. This does not mean you must chase them. It does not mean you must abandon your wisdom or reopen a door without discernment. Heaven is not asking you to become desperate. The message is not telling you to run toward confusion. It is revealing that something is changing in the emotional and spiritual atmosphere surrounding this connection. The one who once hesitated is now afraid of losing the chance to be honest. They have imagined speaking to you more than once. In their mind, they have started the conversation in 100 different ways. Sometimes they begin with an apology. Sometimes they act as though nothing happened and simply ask how you are. Sometimes they want to tell you everything at once. The fear, the regret, the truth, the nights they missed you, the moments they almost reached out. But each version becomes difficult when they imagine hearing your voice. Because your voice represents more than a conversation to them. It represents the moment they can no longer hide behind excuses. It represents the possibility of healing, but also the possibility that they may finally have to face what their silence caused. There is a sentence they have been carrying inside them. It has become heavier each day. They want to tell you that something changed. They want you to know that the way they see you is no longer the same. They want to explain why they pulled away, why they hesitated, and why they acted as though they were unaffected when they were anything but unaffected. They are not simply missing you. They are confronting themselves. That is the deeper event taking place. For a long time, they may have blamed circumstances. They may have told themselves that the timing was wrong, that the distance was too great, that the differences between you were too complicated, or that life simply moved in another direction. But lately, those explanations no longer satisfy them. They are beginning to see where fear influenced their choices. They are recognizing the moments when pride spoke louder than love. They are remembering the opportunities they ignored because vulnerability felt too dangerous. And now, they are standing at an emotional crossroads. One path allows them to continue pretending. It is familiar. It protects their image. It lets them avoid the discomfort of admitting what they truly feel. The other path leads toward you. That path requires honesty. It requires them to risk not knowing how you will respond. It requires them to say what they should have said before. It requires them to release control and accept that real connection cannot be built through silent assumptions. Their soul is pulling them toward the second path. Do not skip what comes next, because there is another layer to this that even they have only recently begun to understand. The important thing that happened was not only external. Yes, there may have been a conversation or revelation that triggered this change, but something also shifted inside them. They experienced a moment of deep emotional clarity. It may have come when they saw another couple speaking honestly. It may have come through a dream. It may have arrived while they were alone, looking at something that reminded them of you. It may have come when they realized that a future without you did not feel as peaceful as they kept pretending it would. In that moment, they saw two versions of their life. In one, they remained silent. They carried on. They smiled, worked, spoke to others, and did what was expected. But beneath everything, there was a question that never left. What would have happened if they had told you the truth? In the other version, they chose courage. They spoke. They stopped allowing fear to make permanent decisions. They gave the connection an honest chance, even if the conversation was difficult. The second vision did not promise perfection. But it felt alive. And that feeling has stayed with them. You may not see evidence of this yet. That is important to understand. Spiritual and emotional changes often begin beneath the surface. The seed breaks open before anything appears above the ground. The heart makes a decision before the lips can form the words. Your soulmate may still look distant, uncertain, or even unaffected. But beneath that appearance, something is moving. They have started paying closer attention to signs connected to you. They may notice your name in unexpected places. They may hear a song that returns them to a memory. They may see something you once spoke about. They may find themselves checking for a message they know has not arrived. These moments are not forcing them to act, but they are making avoidance more difficult. The more they try to push the connection away, the more clearly they feel what remains unresolved. And what remains unresolved is not merely romance. It is truth. They need to tell you what really happened within them. They need to explain that their actions did not always match their feelings. They need to admit that they were confused by the intensity of the connection. They need to reveal that they felt exposed around you, not because you harmed them, but because you saw parts of them that they usually kept hidden. You noticed the pauses behind their words. You sensed when their smile was not complete. You recognized the difference between what they said and what they meant. And for someone who had learned to survive by staying emotionally guarded, being seen so clearly was both beautiful and terrifying. They were drawn to your light, but they were also afraid of what that light revealed. You awakened a longing in them that they could not easily control. You made them imagine a love based on honesty, depth, and emotional presence. Yet imagining that kind of love also forced them to confront the places where they did not yet feel ready. So they delayed. They became inconsistent. They stepped closer, then pulled away. They sent signals they later denied. They hoped you would understand without requiring them to explain. But your heart was never meant to live forever inside mixed messages. This is something they now recognize. They are realizing that you deserved clarity. You deserved to know where you stood. You deserved words that matched actions. You deserved a connection that did not require you to question your worth. And this realization has created regret. Not the empty regret that comes from loneliness, but the deeper regret that comes when a person finally sees the emotional cost of their choices. They are remembering moments when you offered softness and they responded with distance. They are thinking about times when you might have needed reassurance, but they stayed quiet. They are recognizing that you may have walked away not because your feelings disappeared, but because you could no longer carry the connection alone. This understanding has humbled them. My child, you may have wondered whether your love was unnoticed. You may have questioned whether the patience you gave mattered. You may have felt foolish for believing there was something deeper beneath the confusion. But nothing sincere is wasted. The love you expressed revealed something to them, even if they were not ready to honor it at the time. Your presence showed them a version of themselves they had not yet become. Your departure, distance, or silence forced them to feel what your closeness had once protected them from. Sometimes people understand the warmth of a presence only after the room grows cold. Your soulmate has been standing in that coldness. They have tried to call it freedom. They have tried to call it peace. They have tried to tell themselves that life is simpler without emotional intensity. Yet simplicity without truth has begun to feel empty. Something important just happened because they can no longer confuse emotional numbness with peace. They are waking up. But there is another reason they need to speak soon, and this reason has made the situation more urgent than before. A change is taking place in your life as well. Even if you cannot fully see it yet, your energy is no longer waiting in the same way. You are becoming stronger. You are learning how to stop begging for clarity from people who choose confusion. You are remembering that your value does not decrease when someone fails to recognize it. You are becoming more selective about what you allow into your heart. Your soulmate senses this change. They may not know how to describe it, but they feel that you are moving out of reach. Not because you are punishing them, but because you are healing. You are no longer standing emotionally in the place where they left you. This has awakened fear within them. Not fear meant to control you, but fear that their hesitation may have consequences. They are beginning to understand that while love can be patient, people still grow. A heart can remain loving while becoming unavailable to chaos. A soul can forgive and still choose a different direction. Your soulmate feels that you are approaching a threshold. Beyond that threshold, you may no longer need the explanation you once waited for. And this is why they want to speak now. They are asking themselves whether they still have time to tell you the truth before your healing carries you into a new chapter. They are wondering whether someone else will recognize the treasure they were too afraid to hold. They are imagining the pain of watching you receive from another person the honesty, consistency, and devotion they should have offered. That thought has become difficult for them to bear. But heaven is not revealing this to inflate your pride. It is not telling you to wait passively or build your life around someone else's hesitation. This message is meant to restore perspective. You were not too much. You were not impossible to love. You were not wrong for desiring honesty. You were not foolish for sensing depth beneath the surface. But you must also remember that potential is not the same as commitment. Feelings are not the same as action. A spiritual connection does not remove the need for emotional maturity. Your soulmate's awakening matters, but what they do with it will matter more. The next step belongs to them. They know this. They understand that another silent sign will not be enough. Another indirect message will not be enough. Another moment of watching from a distance will not repair what distance damaged. They must speak clearly. And they are preparing to. They may already have written words they have not sent. They may have opened your conversation, stared at your name, and closed it again. They may have asked someone they trust for advice. They may have rehearsed what to say while driving, walking, or lying awake at night. Yet every attempt leads them to the same question. How do I explain everything without losing them completely? They are afraid that one conversation may not be enough to undo the confusion. They are afraid that you will hear their apology but no longer feel the same. They are afraid that you will be kind, but distant. They are afraid that the door is open only enough for closure, not reconciliation. Still, silence has become more painful than the risk. This is the turning point. Their soul has reached the place where truth must either be spoken or carried as regret. And something within them has chosen truth. Stay till the end, because the message they are preparing contains more than a confession of feelings. There is something specific they believe you need to know. Something connected to why they disappeared, why their behavior changed, or why they allowed circumstances to separate you. For a long time, they kept this hidden because they thought revealing it would make them look weak. They feared you would judge them. They feared you would see how deeply affected they truly were. They feared admitting that certain events around them influenced their choices more than they wanted anyone to know. There may have been pressure from family, expectations from others, unresolved pain from their past, or a situation they believed they had to handle alone. There may have been a promise, responsibility, or emotional burden they never explained. But the secrecy created more damage than the truth would have. They see that now. The hidden situation did not erase their feelings for you. It complicated the way they acted. It made them choose control over openness. It made them believe that protecting you meant shutting you out. But you did not experience that silence as protection. You experienced it as absence. This is one of the truths they need to acknowledge. They cannot continue telling themselves they had good intentions without also facing the impact of their choices. Love that remains hidden for too long can begin to feel indistinguishable from love that is not there. Your soulmate is finally understanding the difference between feeling deeply and loving responsibly. That understanding is changing them. They are beginning to see that you did not need perfection from them. You needed honesty. You did not need them to have every answer. You needed them to stop disappearing when emotions became real. You did not need dramatic promises. You needed consistent presence. These truths are humbling them, but they are also preparing them. Because the conversation they want to have with you is no longer about convincing you with beautiful words. They know words alone may not be enough. They want to speak about what they are willing to change. They want to tell you that they are tired of repeating the same pattern. They want to admit that fear has controlled too much of their life. They want to ask whether there is still a way to rebuild trust, not by pretending the past did not happen, but by approaching the future differently. And yet there is one more piece they have not fully decided how to reveal. It is the part that has kept them awake. The part that makes this conversation urgent. Recently, they learned something about your emotional state, your life, or a change surrounding you. It may not have come directly from you. Perhaps someone mentioned that you are moving forward. Perhaps they saw a difference in the way you carry yourself. Perhaps they heard that new opportunities are opening around you. Perhaps they sense that another person may be noticing what they once took for granted. Whatever they discovered, it shattered the illusion that you would always remain in the same place. They realized that while they were debating whether to speak, your life was continuing. And in that moment, they felt the possibility of losing you become real. Not imagined. Not distant. Real. Their heart reacted before their pride could interfere. They felt a wave of emotion so strong that they could no longer pretend the connection was behind them. They may have gone quiet. They may have stepped away from others. They may have opened an old photograph, reread a message, or returned to a memory they had avoided. And then they made a decision. They decided they had to find a way to reach you. But what they intend to say is not exactly what you might expect. They are not coming only to say, "I miss you." Those words are true, but they are not enough. They are not coming only to apologize. The apology matters, but it is not the whole message. They are coming to reveal a truth that may completely change how you understand the distance between you. This truth involves a choice they made, a conversation they never told you about, and the real reason they believed they had to stay away. They have carried it alone because they thought silence would prevent greater pain. But now they know that the silence itself became the pain. My child, prepare your heart with wisdom, not fantasy. Do not assume every returning person has transformed merely because they feel regret. Listen to actions. Observe consistency. Protect your peace. You can be compassionate without abandoning discernment. But also do not allow yesterday's pain to make you incapable of hearing truth when it finally arrives. You are entering a moment where both strength and softness may be required. Your soulmate is closer to speaking than they have ever been. The words are no longer buried as deeply. The decision is no longer theoretical. Something important has already happened, and it has pushed them beyond the emotional place where silence felt acceptable. Tonight, or in the days ahead, you may notice a shift. A message. A sign. An unexpected encounter. A conversation through someone else. A sudden reopening of communication. It may begin simply, almost casually, because they may not know how to enter such a serious conversation all at once. But beneath the simple beginning will be a storm of words they have been holding back. Do not judge the entire moment by the first sentence. The first sentence may be ordinary. The truth behind it will not be. Because once they begin speaking, they will have to tell you what happened in the moment that changed everything. They will have to explain why someone else's words made them realize they had been wrong about you. They will have to admit what they felt when they discovered you may no longer be waiting. And most of all, they will have to reveal the promise they made after that realization. It is a promise they have told no one. A promise connected to you. A promise that could either reopen the path between your hearts or close it forever, depending on whether they find the courage to fulfill it. They are standing on the edge of that choice now. And just before they reach out, there is one final truth they must confront, a truth about the person who influenced the separation, the information that was hidden, and the message that was never allowed to reach you. What your soulmate recently discovered about that missing message is the real reason they need to talk to you right away. Because the message was not lost. Someone made sure you never received it.